If you run a business, you probably know that you need to be present on social media. Like people, it has landed for most people by now, right? So maybe 5 years ago, people were like, oh yeah, social media. But still today, people know it. But when you go online, you see a lot of business profiles. Like there's just a faceless business profile. There's some business updates nobody cares about. That doesn't drive revenue, that doesn't impress people. That's just so you can tick it off. You can say, yes, I've done my social media presence. That's not a social media presence. That is not an impactful personal brand, right? So there is an issue, right? Because if you're busy, if you're running a business, and you also got to do your social media, it takes a lot of time to do that, right? But if you outsource it to somebody who is not, let's say, not as competent as you would like them to be in translating your voice and taking your insights, like they don't have a good system of doing that, then it's not going to help, right? It's going to be a waste of your money, a waste of your time. You don't want to do that either. You can get someone who is good at doing that, like a professional ghostwriter. That's usually pretty expensive. Like the agency I worked at, they were charging from 2,000 to 8,000 just for a monthly retainer, right? But that's high quality ghostwriting. That is high quality personal branding. So what do you do if you're kind of in between those two? You can do it yourself, right? But you have to use your content in a smart way. You have to find basically your main format that you resonate with. For me, video is a format that comes very easily for me, right? I can record videos very easily. I just go on my evening walks. I have like 2 flies with one, although that's an aggressive metaphor. I don't like that. But I do 2 things by just walking, recording my video. I get steps in. I get some evening sunlight. Today it's a little dark now, right? But yeah, there's a light source. Not the one I want, right? But it's very effective. You can do that. And then, and this is basically the point of this live today, how to take that content that you create and repurpose it. And what you can do if you have video is you can transcribe the video, right? There's a lot of platforms. TurboScribe is one that is great. All free platforms. If you go online, there's otter.ai. They have a 30-minute limit. So if you tend to rant, if you're like me, if you're like blah, 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 you talk for a long time, there's going to be a limit. There's another app that I found yesterday, which is called Mac Whisper. There's a cat, by the way. Really cool. A cat on its walk, as you can see. Now it's checking me out. Nah, she's not having it. Maybe, gotta love cats. So, Mac Whisper, right? I'm gonna put those links as a reply on X. If you're not on X, I'm very sorry, better come to X. It's the better platform. It's superior to Instagram. We all know it. People don't want to hear it. Please don't report me if you're on Instagram, if I offended you by saying that, right? Just the truth. Sometimes I need to say that. Although I was live streaming from Instagram last few days because the X live stream was breaking down. So I was very desperate to do that. Sorry, Elon Musk, But what you want is you want to take your video and then pull out the transcript from your video. Fair enough, no magic here. But then what you do is you go to AI, you put it in there, and what you don't want to do is tell it, yes, write me a post, right? Because if you do that, what it's going to do is it's going to take whatever it knows, make some assumptions, some amazing hallucinations. AI is great at that, Claude is very creative with, some water here, creative with its hallucinations, but still the end result is not going to be good. It's going to be there's going to be too many blind spots that it's just going to fill randomly. You don't want that. What you want to tell it is you want to say, analyze the transcript, and then let me know if you have any questions in terms of how I should structure this, in terms of how I can target the people I want to target with this. And what I also like to do is try to find out what was my intent as I was speaking, give it context, tell it for what platform you want to create that, what is your intention with that, maybe tell it the key ideas you want to structure that around, And ideally, you want it to create an outline first, because what it does, if you give the whole text, you get the whole text, you're like, oh my God, you have to edit, it rewrites it gets confused, Claude is like a human, it gets confused. If you tell it too many things, it starts doing random stuff, right? You don't want that if you want to have some quality content. So what you do is you ask it to create an outline and to ask you if it's unsure. And then it's gonna do that, right? It's gonna start asking you questions, hammering you with those questions. You're gonna answer those questions. And when you answer them, it's gonna give the AI context, right? And if you tell it to create an outline, it's gonna check in with you. It's gonna say like, you're gonna do the outline like this. Do you like that? And then you gotta give it some input. I might share my own prompt, which I feel it's pretty good. The results are pretty good. And I've been working with AI a lot. Like the last 6 months when I was ghostwriting, there was a lot of AI prompting going on some days more than I would have liked to have going on, right? So I learned a lot about how to use it, and questions are incredible. When you can ask it questions, there's a back and forth, and using an outline, because you're gonna see the outline and then you can decide, do I like this? Do I wanna structure it differently? So you get more creative control, right? You want to have creative control, not the AI. You want to have creative control if you want to produce high quality content. So you're gonna put that in, and then you're gonna adapt the outline, and then you can write it, right? It's gonna ask you, it asks me usually what tone I wanna keep it in. It's smart. If you tell it, ask me questions about how to make this content, it has an idea about what kind of is important. But if you want something, of course, add it, tell it specifically, right? The more specific you can be in your prompts, the better. So I'm gonna add the tools. I'm gonna respond on X with that, with some, the stack that I use. I love to use Claude. I still think it's the best for writing. ChatGPT it's great, right? And in some aspects, Claude is pretty retarded, to be honest. It doesn't know the time. It always thinks it's, 2004 or something. And I'm like, no, it's not 2004. Don't assume that. ChatGPT is smarter in that sense, but I still prefer the writing from Claude. And it's extremely creative, like with how to formulate things. And it sounds very smooth, to be honest. So, but you're gonna run out of credits if you're just experimenting with it. But I think for like trying it out, it's gonna be enough if you try the free version, right? So I can definitely recommend that, and that's what I'm gonna do, right? Because I have now recorded all my lives for the last, I think, a week. I've been doing these lives, and I'm gonna take all of them, and I'm gonna run them. I've already started that process, and I'm gonna run them every day, put in the transcript, and I'm going to create from that a newsletter. Because why not use the content that I've created here, right? And then the other thing that I'm gonna do, I started doing that some time ago. There is a tool called Opus Pro, right? And that is also an AI tool that cuts your video for you. A lot of people might have heard about that, right? But if you create a lot of improvised content every day, and I heard about this from a very smart guy, his name is Owen Cook, he's kind of like a communication trainer, you can say. And he said that if you practice improvising again and again and again, you do it so many times, you practice speaking, any skill, your skill level is going to increase. And as you're doing it so much, the base quality of your delivery, of how you structure what you're saying, all those things, it's going to improve, and it's going to get to a point where actually it's so good, it might even be better when you're just improvising, you're just riffing, than the prepared content of other people. So that's why I'm such a big proponent. That's why I'm doing these lives, just sharing. Like my main goal wasn't even to create content. I was just like, I want to share, this is my therapy. If I feel like crying, I'm just going to turn on live. I'm going to cry into the camera. I get attention, The crying is very soothing. I like that. Stroking myself, right? Taking good care of myself. And making offensive jokes, if you've listened to my previous lives. So I wasn't even aiming to create a lot of content with this, right? But a few days ago, I was like why not? Why not use that? Like there's some quality ideas, and it's not even, oh, because I'm so smart, I have so many good ideas. I mean, I think I have decent ideas. I'm quite happy with how my brain works, right? Very grateful, but everybody has that if they can share, if they practice to flow, right? So if you're like, yeah, I want to do this, just do the lives, right? And you're gonna be in there, there's gonna be 0 people watching, you're gonna feel like a complete retard because you walk, if you do it like me, maybe that's too much for you, you're like, no, I don't want to go on the street. Do it at home, sit at your window so at least you get some sunlight in the evening, in the morning, go somewhere where there are no people, where you're not bothering anyone, or where you feel safe, and just do it there and just talk. And I would recommend just to practice talking and expressing yourself, like putting the focus on that, like a process focused. In coaching, you speak about, there's this one story I really like, and it's about a golfer. I forgot his name, right? But he had this mindset, and amazing. 2 people are here, very excited. So we're talking about process focus over focusing on results and how that impacts performance. If you're in business, if you're in art, whatever you're doing, right? So there was this golfer, and he basically had this process focus when he was playing, right? He had all this, like this checklist, like you take your club like this, then you visualize hitting it, take 3 deep breaths. I don't know his exact process, but he had a process. And he was so focused on that, right? On his mental process, on executing that. And he just, boom, hit the ball, focused on his process. And suddenly his wife runs onto the green and he's like, what's going on, right? And his wife hugs him and he's like, huh? And his wife tells him, you've won, right? And he didn't even realize. Like his wife had to come up. He was so focused on doing his golf stroke, right? That he didn't even care at that moment about winning the tournament. And I think that's a really powerful story because it shows that process focus it's an incredibly powerful tool because you don't get scared. You're not like, am I going to win this? You're not so outcome dependent. Let's cross the street right here where we're not supposed to. Very exciting. No cars here at this time. People are asleep. They're like, no, I don't know what they're doing. So it's this an amazing tool where you kind of take a lot of the friction that you'd get. If you're so focused, you're like, I can't mess this one up, I can't hit it the wrong way. If I lose this, I'm going to lose the tournament. It's going to make you nervous. But if you're executing the process, mind is calm, you're focused, you're present in your body probably on what you're doing, and the results are much better. So the reason I'm talking about this, like I said in the beginning, content system, content repurposing. If you want to build a brand for your business, but it takes time, why not start doing live videos? Maybe for some people, they're like, no, live is not my main format. I don't want to be in front of the camera. Fair enough, right? I would say then do the same thing, but just with writing, and you can still repurpose that. You could even record, I don't know, voice notes. Like you can get creative. I'm just sharing my process here. I love to do lives because, like I said, I can do them just on my evening walk. I transcribe that with Mac Whisper, right? Because I get free transcription for that, even for an hour long. But it does it locally on my machine. I'm going to share it in the links then. It's a pretty cool tool. I didn't know it exists until yesterday, right? And then I run it into AI, into Claude. I ask it questions, let it give me an outline for the content that I want to produce. Pretty windy today. And basically I prompt it to ask me questions, because the more context I can give it, the better the result is going to be, right? And I use an outline, because if you get the outline, you have you have more creative control, because you can say, I don't like this point, let's do this point differently, and you can kind of guide it to get the result that you actually want to get. And from that, so basically doing the video, the live, practicing being in the moment, being process-oriented, practicing expressing yourself, holding the skill of really expressing yourself, right? Not trying to get it perfect. Like the golfer, you're focused on the process, focused on practicing to release, like being expressive, being authentic, you know, talking about things that matter to you, right? Not focusing on, I want to reach this person, I want to control this outcome. No, you're expressing yourself, you're practicing. What happens as you do that, the quality of the content that you produce gets better because you're practicing, right? You're doing it more and more, feeling more confident. You're like, yeah, it's not so bad, you know. Here and there, people are going to join your life. You're going to be like, oh, it was like 0 views for 1 week. Then one person joins, you get really nervous like me. And right now I'm like, oh, 3 people, right? Better not screw it up right now, right? And the mind is like that. And just practicing that, and the quality of your content is going to go up. And even then, from that content, you can create text, you can transcribe it, put it into AI, or you can also, and what I'm also going to do, create little snippets. Like I've been cutting them with CapCut, you know, but it's a lot of work to do that. I'm going to switch to Opus Pro. I've used that in the past. And it's basically an automatic clip generation tool. So you're going to go in there, you can even tell it like, okay, today I talked about this, this and that. Like today I can say, okay, I talked about the content ecosystem, filter out the clips that are relevant to that. And it does a pretty decent job. Sometimes it screws up. Of course, you know, we humans screw up at times as well. Let's not be too hard on AI. Although sometimes I'm really annoyed when I work with it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? This is not good. And it starts mirroring my tone. It's like, yes, I really fucked up, you know. It's like you can't even fight with it, right? Gonna be so bad when the robots come out, right? They're gonna be so nice before they start taking over at some point, right? But until then, gonna be smooth sailing, right? Let's stay positive about the future, right? So taking that, practicing that skill, honing that skill, being expressive, sharing your ideas, and then repurposing that into text. You can do tweets, can put that into tweets, or what is it called on threads? Not threads, I don't know what it's called. It's kind of like the little brother threads, little brother of X, trying to imitate, you know, a little smaller, right? Not yet grown up. I prefer X, right? Or you can, whatever format floats your boat, whatever platform you like, you can repurpose it there. You can do a carousel even, right? Although that takes more time to do that. I would do a newsletter. That's what I'm going to do. Create those lives and 1 newsletter from each live. And I'm going to practice just speeding up that process. Like every day creating those lives, every day putting that into transcription, putting that into AI, putting out that content. Of course, not like, just like, it's not going to be bad content, right? Of course, in the beginning, maybe. I'm like, yeah, this wasn't so good. Let's improve that. But focusing on the process of improvement on all areas. The delivery in the video, going to get better. Structuring the thoughts, going to get better, right? And the writing, it's going to improve because you do it so much. So there's incredible value in that. I think that's how I'm going to approach it. And also I'm going to cut it up into clips because I've seen some decent reach, you know, on YouTube Shorts. And why not give it a shot, right? Doesn't take that much time. If it doesn't work, I scrap that. But the main thing, I would say, taking those lives, if you're on X, right? Repurposing those into tweets, repurposing those into a newsletter that you can plug. I don't know, plucking is like when you take cherries or something. I think I'm in like a summer mode or something. I'm gonna pluck some cherries maybe from the trees. There are none around. But that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna experiment, share with you how it goes, what I'm learning. And that was basically what I wanted to share today. And I'm gonna do it with this one. And I'm gonna also, under this, I'm gonna post the end result. Gonna do that tomorrow. Gonna turn that into a newsletter. That's it, basically. Hope you found that interesting. All right. Wow, there was a lot of talking. Feeling a little out of breath here. Walking on the Danube, my evening walk. And gonna see if there's anything else I want to share for today. Yeah, that's the second thing, learning, right? Because when I was starting these lives in the beginning, I was just like ranting, you know, like starting the live and just like some crazy rant about monkey meat, you know, some weird topic, right? So now I've started to, at least in the beginning, kind of introduce a hook, right? Something that is more tangible, where people are like, yeah, I can relate to that. Like the monkey meat, I found it's not the ideal hook. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with people, you know, that they don't like it. Maybe some people are offended. I think it's boring. I think it's great. You know, let's not go into it today, although I feel a slight urge to do that. But starting the live with a clear topic. And then my idea for moving forward is like using the first 10, 15 minutes just to riff on that topic. So I've got that nugget. I can use that. I can transcribe it, create content from that. And then I can still free flow, right? So people can join, they get like their thing. And if they're like, yeah, Lucas, that was great, and they want to stay, they can stay and they can hear me rant. If they don't want to stay, they're like, okay, fuck off, now the ranting, fuck the flies. Now the ranting starts. I can't take it, you know. You like get all twitchy and weird because I start talking about weird stuff. I'm sorry, you know, it's your responsibility. You need to turn that off if you feel that's happening, right? Early warning signs, if your eyes starts twitching when I talk about some weird topics, right? Like how I love to cry, you know, going home, crying on my pillow, you know, how I love that. If you're like, this is too weird, fuck off, then yeah, a little hurt if you leave, right? Nobody has left yet. Please don't leave, you know. I'll take it very personally. It's a very bad sign when you do that. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna be just very emotional. Still, everyone is here. So good. Thank you. You really it's a thin line, you know, mental stability. You're keeping me on that line, right? Don't leave. No, I'm just kidding. Check out the nice view. Gonna leave you with that. I think we're so much on our devices anyways. Go outside if you have the opportunity, if you want to. Hope this was useful to you. Sending you a lot of love, lots of love. Have an amazing day wherever you are. See you next time. Bye bye.